Okay, thank you. This is my first talk, so first talk in public at all, so bear with me, I'm a little bit nervous. I'm going to start off by talking about a concept that I was working for over 9 months, working for a mobile development agency. We built several mobile websites, web apps, and we built so many that I ended up building a little template. This template has been fine-tuned and stripped down to the point where it will be a good source for beginning any development process on. I've then converted it into WordPress, and that's what today's talk is all about. The template that you'll see, that I'll talk about, will be available for download for everybody to use afterwards. It's all free to use. It's not completely finished. It's not something that I'm put out to the public yet, but for you guys, for the sake of this talk, there'll be a link where you can download everything and carry on. So a little bit about me. My name is Jack. I'm a jack of all trades, master of some. That means I don't have great knowledge in one specific area. I'm not a developer, I'm not a designer, I'm not an SEO expert, but I can do all of them in a healthy bubble. You can catch my website, airboxmedia.com, and if you want to follow me on Twitter, it's at Jack Barham. Okay. I've been developing websites for about 5 years now. Picked up my first book, Dummy's Guide to Dreamweaver. Since then, I spent 2 years working at Skywire as a front-end developer on e-commerce websites, WordPress websites, everything like that. Recently, most of this year, I've been working at Isobar Mobile, which is part of Aegis Media Group. It's a big advertising agency, big digital media agency. And I've been doing various consultancies for WordPress and mobile. These are the sites that I've built while working for Aegis Media. As you can see, I've done one for DHL, for Toyota launching their new GT86, for the new Yaris, and for Carrot Media Agency. I've also done some for Kellogg's and for Vodafone as well. These templates, these sites that I've built, are all from the template that I'll be talking to you about today. So they've all come from this, and you can see them out, they're all in the real world. If you go to GT86 on your mobile, you can see the website on there. Same for Yaris and same for DHL. This was a template that I built. This is a HTML mobile template. This is what we used at Isobar Mobile, which is the company that I worked at. It's just HTML. The only PHP in there is for header includes, footer includes, navigation, that sort of thing. It's a stripped down version of what we'll always need. It's got things like video clips. It's got a 360 carousel. You can see it yourself. If you go to the bottom now, if you type in mobile.airboxmedia.com on your mobile device, you can have a play about of it and see what it looks like. Because I can't be holding a phone like this up all day. I'll get that website up now so you can see. It's responsive, but it's responsive up to 600 pixels wide. So there's going to be responsive elements in this talk, but it's not a responsive talk. It is about mobile. Okay. The mobile that I've taken this one and I've turned it into this. So you've got wpmobile.airboxmedia.com or mobile.airboxmedia.com. This one is running off WordPress. It's live, it's up there, you can have a look at it now. This has got 9 months, well 12 months really, 14 months of all the mobile features that we always use in the website. The point of this is you can use it with a plugin, which I'll talk about shortly, as the theme for picking up mobile devices, fires you over to this website. So if you want to have a look at this one, this is the link that you really want on your phone, because I can talk about this while you're on your phone at the same time. So bear me a second, I'm just going to bring this up on mine. Okay, here we go. Right, let me turn this brightness up a bit. Okay, so what we're going to talk about on here. Why we're going to use a mobile theme, why not responsive, what's the point of having a mobile theme and a main website as well. We've got planning and wireframing, design, just basically things you need to know before you're going to start the development of it. Setup for development. The development files, I'll show you sort of some of the coding that we're using for this particular theme. It'll just include the main ones: the header, the footer, the functions, CSS, and any jQuery we need. It's all minimal. It really is just a short page of each version, and it will get you all the basics that you need to get this up and running. A bit of testing and debugging, and links to download both. Now, both the HTML website that you've seen and the WordPress website, plus this keynote, is on one zip file which you can download. When I'll give you the link at the end of the talk. This link will stay at the bottom, so if you do want to have a check and see it online, if you're looking at it on your desktop, it will be a bit wide, but you still get the element of it. So, I'm going to take questions at the end, so please make any notes. If there's anything that you can't understand or is really urgent, or you need me to double check on something, please holler. Right. Okay. So why mobile? Responsive is the best way. Responsive is the way forward. By all means, if you're going to start from scratch building a website and a mobile site, get it responsive. I'm building them all the time. It's only a small reason why you'd want mobile, a separate mobile site and a separate main website. The reasons are, you might want to test the waters. So sometimes we found that you've got a fully fledged website, it's got a lot of content in it. A mobile version with some content can be good. Are users using it? Is it worth doing it? Is it getting lots of hits? Is it not? It's a good way to test. Cost. If you've got a site already, do you want to develop the whole one again from the ground up? This is a cheap version of doing it. Development time, again, if you use this template, plug it in, you can get, depending on how much time you want to spend on it, but you can get a good version of a mobile site up quite quickly while you're building a responsive version. So it's something at least you can get sort of out there in the meantime. It's easy to implement. The versions that I've been building for DHL, for Kellogg's, and all the big brands, they wanted different content. So they actually wanted separate content on the mobile than on the main desktop website. Sometimes it is better to have that. Sometimes it's better to run two. Sometimes it's better to run two off the same database as well, and that's possible. And if you do any work on a mobile site, it's directly transferable to a responsive website. So responsive is the way forward, definitely the way forward, but if you come across any of these points, then this is a good reason to look at it. It's quite simple, it's quite straightforward, and it's definitely worth thinking about. Okay, planning wireframing. So clients come up to you, you've got your brief, you need to start thinking about what you need to do. So the first thing you need to do is find out what your target audience is. Is it going to be what I call an in-out mission? So things like, if you go to a pub, if you've got a pub website, you've got lots of images, lots of menus and stuff like that. Not necessarily going to look at the phone. Perhaps they just want your contact details, your map, just anything they've got. They want to double check, is it there? Yes, thanks, bye. That's the sort of thing. So is it going to be just stripped down information, or is it someone that you're going to be sitting there all day, like Facebook, someone on their mobiles 24/7? Gather the assets, get as many assets as you possibly can. The bigger the images, the better, and I'll come to this why soon. But if you're looking at clients, if you're getting assets, if you're getting images, logos, stuff like that, get them as big as possible. Don't necessarily lift them off the current website. Find out which features you need, and more importantly in mobile, which features you don't. It's so important to keep things simple, straightforward, 2 touches, get what you want, get out again. As soon as it's bogged down with content, bogged down with features and sidebar elements and everything else that you need to do, it starts becoming heavy, it takes a long time to download. If you've got a bad 3G signal, the list just goes on. Navigation options, this is the next thing that's quite key. If you look, I'll go back to mine in a minute. Have you got a lot of navigation options? Is there a long list of navigation options? Is it just a couple? Sometimes if it's just 2 or 3 options, just having the links at the top of a page might do. If it's 6 or 7, then perhaps a drop-down version. But if you don't have to use a drop-down version, if it's clear and it can stay at the top, that's really worth thinking about. Layout options. What do you need in there? That you haven't got too many choices when it comes to mobile. You've got the mobile, landscape, portrait. It shouldn't really change too much, but it is really worth thinking about it. And the less options, the better. I cannot stress that enough. Keep it simple. And of course, always schedule designs. It's so much easier. Just sketch what you want, sketch the content that you need, and then start planning it from there. Okay, so the first point is the design. I don't know how this is looking on here at the moment. You may need to do it. This picture is in a 300 by 300 box. So is this picture. However, this is a screenshot from my Retina screen on my iPhone 4. This picture underneath, this picture that you can't actually see on here, this picture at the top is actually 600 by 600, but it sits in a div of 300 by 300. So on the image element, you remove the height and you remove the width, and then do a max width of 100%. So what that will do is it'll push the image to be its original size within its parent area. Now, when you look at it on a normal screen on your desktop, you don't notice any difference. When you look at it on a Retina screen, this image is so much sharper than that image. It's twice the size. Now, if you're saving for web, it's going to force it to 72 dpi. So it's not worth starting a Photoshop file at a resolution of the iPhone, which is 322. File's too big, because when you save it for web, it's still going to be 72. What you need to do is you need to think double. So set your layout to 640 by 960 in Photoshop, or whichever you use. But bearing in mind that the phone, you will always work within the 320 parameter-ish. So if you've got a header, or sorry, a logo that's 100 pixels wide 200 pixels wide, 100 pixels long, that will be sitting in a content area of. You're not sure why? That's the way around it. But to do that, you have to remove the height and width, which I'll come to in the coding. Save for web at double the size. Everything you do, just think double. Think double. It's better to have an image that's too big. You can scale down than a standard size image, and it looks a bit fuzzy on the Retina screen. Most mobiles, well, nearly every iPhone, about 90% of iPhone traffic now are the 4 upwards, so it's Retina screens. Some of the new Android phones are using Retina screens as well, so it's definitely doing it from standard onwards. It's best. And the great thing about this is if you're looking at it on a normal screen, it looks fine. It's no difference. Okay. Right, so you want to set up, before you start developing, there's a few things that you want to set up first. The plugin that I recommend, that I've tested, and it's been quite good, is Multi-Device Switcher. It's free. It's a WordPress plugin. It's simple. I'll show you a quick downside of it here. There you go, it's super simple. So basically, you have several themes. You choose what theme to hit at what device. And here, you can select your user agent. So you can say smartphone, I want all these ones to be classed as a phone. I want all that to be classed as a tablet. I want all that to be classed as a mobile. I want all that to be classed as a platform. As new technology comes out, they'll have their own user agent. You just drop it in. It's that simple. And you can switch between the two, and it will remember from what you are. So install that. Okay, I'll take the full screen. So install that. There's the link for it there. The next one is Adobe Shadow, which they're now changing their name to Edge Inspect. This is really handy. Since I found about this about 3 or 4 months ago, I've not been able to put it down. It's a Chrome plugin. Only works on Chrome, unfortunately, on Mac or PC. And it syncs everything you see on your screen to the device that the app is installed on. So if you've got an iPad, iPhone, Android tablet, Android phone, you install the app on those for free, and whatever you see on your screen will automatically be displayed on your phone. Let me show you, let's see if I can show you a quick example. So Adobe Edge Inspect is on, Edge Inspect. So it has to work through Wi-Fi. And what it does is it doesn't send you the desktop version to your phone, it sends you the mobile version to your phone. So if you're working on responsive or mobile things, is it going to do it? Maybe not.
Usually install the port or connection.
That's what I was just thinking, yeah. What he said. What he said. But it's really worth doing. The great thing about this as well, I work on MAMP, so I install WordPress locally. It does work on that as well, so you don't have to be, it will obviously mirror any live site that you see, but it will mirror it locally as well. You do need to use the .xip.io. If you go to Adobe Inspect, go to that link, have a look through there. There are some tutorials on how to set it up locally. Basically what it does is you get your IP address, so you set up your local host, local name of the site, the IP address, your internal IP address, what you're running at, and at the end of it, .xip.io, and then that will give you anything that you type in that address to on any device on the same network will see it. And as you refresh a page, as you switch tabs, as you do everything, it just syncs on all your devices. You don't need to touch them. And the great thing is it keeps the screen on. So you're not having to keep turning the screen on every time you want to check it. So it keeps your screen on. Really, really handy to do. I haven't put free on there because it's free at the moment, but since I've turned it to Edge Inspect, Adobe seem to be bundling it in their Creative Cloud suite, so I don't know what's happening. Don't quote me on anything. But it could be something you pay for as part of something. I'm not 100% sure yet. As what?
£10 a month.
Is that for whole package or just for this?
Just for that.
It'll still be worth it though. It's still worth it. It's still worth it if you're doing a lot of it. Okay, another setup you can do if when you're deciding that you wanted separate content for your mobile site as opposed to your desktop site. So big paragraph, lots of text, lots of links, lots of images for a desktop site, quick information, short information for your mobile site. There's this really good plugin that I've been using for a long time for everything. It's called Advanced Custom Fields. You just need this in your life if you work on WordPress full stop, nothing to do with mobile. What this does is it really easy to add you can drag and drop adding fields into your posts and to your pages. So you can say, right, for the page name of this, I want an extra field. Then all you do is you drop that in, as simple as that, into your mobile template. So you can have the main field for your desktop and a separate one for your mobile. So if you don't want to duplicate content, but you want two separate contents, this is a really good way to do it. It's definitely worth going to that website and having a look because it's awesome. Okay, so development-wise, I'm going to just go through some of the actual, I'm going to sort of get some coding up now, so I'm going to go through some of the simpler mobile-specific things that you might be wanting to think about or have a look at or understand when you look at this, when you look at my theme. So let me get coder up. Okay, so we'll start with header. Viewport. So all it is on viewport is you're telling it that a mobile device is going to be looking at it. Device width, initial scale is 1, maximum scale 1, so can't stretch in, can't stretch out. Device width equals device width, so which means if something's bigger, it won't stretch everything else to be smaller, or sometimes if you look at a website that was 960 wide, it will go down to 360. Basically, this is a friendly 320 pixels wide term that you can use. It's always need to use this on there. Modernize the script. It just adds classes into the top of the header file. That can be handy for mobile development, although mobiles do play quite well. And on my particular one, I don't know if you've had a look yet, on the navigation, I've chosen to have within the menu the actual search and social media in there as well. So it keeps it all in one place. You're going to have to tap to menu to see something, so you may as well put your search up there, hide your social media up there, and everything else. Let me show you on my desktop here. So there. So it's all hidden up quite nicely. It just keeps it quite simple and quite straightforward. Okay, the pictures are from my 30th birthday party, so you might see a few of those lying around. Give me a second. Cool, okay. Right, on here, I've put my sidebar there. So at the bottom here is the sidebar. It's where it's optional there, so you can drag in categories, any extra searches, anything else that you can put in a widgetized area can go there. I've kept it at the bottom, keep it simple. Again, when it comes to mobile, try and keep everything to a minimum. Don't try and shove in as much as possible, thinking that you might lose users for something that you think you've got to try and think of every possible eventuality. It can work on desktops, even though even then that should be kept simple, but definitely even more so on mobile. And I've just put some, in the functions which I'll come to, is some standard paginations which come up without a plugin. Okay, so let me just go on these for you. So index and loop. So index is just keeping of that. The loop is just this. So it's nice and simple. You've got your featured image if you have one, set its size, and just the rest of your content there. So this is the actual theme files itself. It is very, very straightforward. Most of them are half a page long. So it's a great starting point. Okay, so next one is page and page name. What I've done is, I don't know if you want to have a look at this, I've set some standard pages here. So the first page you've got is a gallery. This one uses a really cool plugin called Flex Slider. Woo, I don't know who originally built it, but Woo Themes bought it, and they've given it away for Flex Slider. You'll see this come through on the next slide. But as you can see, you can drag it like so, and it will do it. Now the beauty of this one is it's touch. So nice and simple, and it's responsive. So it'll just stretch to whatever you need to do. No hassle, very simple to set up. And you can add the images on a loop. So if you go back to custom web, the custom fields plugin that I recommended, one of the things that you can do on there is you can, I can't think what they call it, repeatable fields. So if you've got a gallery, you can add a field, add another field, add another field, add another field. The user can do it themselves, upload a picture, and each one of those bits at the bottom can be that. It is really straightforward to drop in.
Is it only image slider, or is it also a content slider?
Oh, what, sorry? Content slider. Yeah, you can. It doesn't matter what's inside. It's just whatever sits in certain divs. Next one is a video. So I've stripped out the height and width of videos, which I'll come to shortly, which means they're responsive as well. So it just sits at their natural size, if not smaller. So you won't have videos popping over the end on there. The second one is 360 rotation. This is a cool thing we did for Toyota. So you can just move your car nicely, but on there we've made it touch as well. So if you're selling any products, it's a really cool feature, this actually. It's really smooth, and it just touches very nicely, so you can go around the product. All the scripts and everything are in there. This one's a custom script, but it's quite simple and straightforward to use. It's all in there if you want to use it. And favourite one, orientation. This has come in really handy. So at the moment it's showing 2 because it's not a mobile device, but it sticks a class up at the body, at the head. Hold on, let me just go back. So it sticks a class up at the head depending on what it's. So it's saying portrait at the moment. Touch that, it's saying landscape. That's handy because sometimes we built an app where the client didn't want it to be turned over. It had to be straight. You can't stop that from happening in web. So what we did was we triggered off a light box which popped over the top and go, you can't go any further until you turn it back. Really handy. It was really, really handy. That's done that. I'll show you it in a second. Let me just go back to my thing. 360 spin. So there's the videos. Okay, so the CSS for this. Quite straightforward as well. Let me bring these details up. So all you're looking at is the top version here. That's all the reset. This is something that I've been working on for about a year or so now, just pulling apart everybody else's, fine-tuning this one. All that bit there is a reset. It works really, really well. It really works for responsive. So it's really good for HTML5. It's really good for mobile. It's really good for responsive websites. It seems to have done the job. It doesn't give me any bugs as of yet, but I'm sure you guys will dig some out. The second one is this one here, display orientation. That's it. So a tiny little file of JavaScript, and that's the CSS you need. Stuff down there, and you've got your navigation there, you've got your pagination and your contact forms. That's it. That's what builds up the website. Okay. Okay. Now the functions that are included on this particular theme, again, is quite straightforward. Let me just bring them up here. First one is just removing all my header junk. So anything in there, you can remove all the crap that comes up that WordPress displays in the header. That's standard. This is the pagination one here. So all that there that's just set in there, so it just sets your pagination up 1, 2, 3, 4, keeps it nice and simple. And this one here is quite handy for mobile. This sets a class of what your browser is. So not only can you hit orientation lock, but you can hit whether it's Chrome, whether it's Safari, whether it's IE, and hit those independently. So it's a bit more than just like an IE hack. You can actually hit each browser individually. Opera Mobile plays up a little bit. Sometimes Firefox on mobile plays up a little bit. So that's quite handy to pick up from there. Okay, I think I'm getting a bit quick here. Okay, scripts. So again, quite straightforward on here. Very simple. The first one here, this is just a nav toggle. So basically this one is just, it just ends up the nav going up and down. What I've done also on there, it will add a class and if it's down, add a class and if it's up. So if you want an arrow facing up and arrow facing down, it's quite easy to drop that in. This is all that was used to target removing the HTML height and width. It's as simple as that. Orientation class, this is the JavaScript that was called in just to grab the orientation class here. And 360 rotation and the flex side gallery. So they're the main files that you'll be using if you do want to use this theme on there. So as you can see, it's all quite straightforward. Okay, testing. Right. So it's tricky on mobiles. It is really tricky. It's hard work. When we speak to clients, we tell them we agree first to handsets. There's too many handsets out there to try and do everything. We agree from a version upwards, and we agree from a handset standard upwards. So if it's out of that remit, it's out of that remit. It's tough luck because they go back, and it's really, really difficult. I cannot stress that enough. I believe there's a WordPress group, a meetup group, where people meet up to test on their devices. So they bring all their obscure devices, everybody throws it into the pot, and everyone has to play about and fix their bugs, which I thought was a really good idea. I use Android as well as iOS. I found that developing on iOS is good. Developing on mobile on iOS because Safari for Android is built from what Apple built. It's an open source from what Apple's built on the mobile WebKit. You don't really have to do too much. There's no playing about. Test on Retina screens and not Retina screens. Retina screens is a must. Everything's moving that direction. It's not going backwards. It looks so much nicer when the icon is so smooth and it's not jagged around the edge. So test on Retina screens and test on different types because they're all slightly different resolutions. The theory on that one, just going back onto that, is double is fine. So I don't know how you save your webs out, but if you save a web out at 80% on Photoshop or something, and something's 100 by 200 pixels, and it's a file size of 50 kilobits, you're better off saving at 60%, 200 by 200 pixels, and squeezing it back into 100 by 100 box. It looks sharp, it looks really, really good. The human eye can't really differentiate any more than that. So keep your images double the size of what you need, and they'll look fine on Retinas. There are fallback plans, so you can load that image. If it's not loading that, load this one. I don't see the point because you're loading two sets of assets. When really, if you do it this way, you're just loading one set of assets, and it looks fine on all screens. I haven't come across any problems about that yet. The only thing I would bear in mind is the background size element has to come at the end. So you do the size and then the background size, not the other way around. It's the only time CSS can fix it. It comes up with bugs. So size of the image, size of the area, say 50 by 50 pics, even though the image is 100, and then background size of 50 by 50 pics in that order. The Galaxy S2 is a good all-rounder to test for Android. There are hundreds of Android handsets, hundreds of different screen sizes. It's a nightmare. if you can get your hands on the Galaxy S2, if you're serious about testing, that's a good place to start. It does throw up generally the same bugs as all the others, and it plays nicely as all the others as well. BlackBerry is what I call like the Internet Explorer at the moment. The newer versions of BlackBerry are okay. They're quite good. The older you get, the buggier they get, and the harder it is, and the more time you can spend pulling your hair out. It is the Internet Explorer of mobile world. Windows 7 phone, brilliant, can't complain. Does everything really well. It struggles on some of the CSS3 capabilities, on gradients and rounded corners, but I think they do that I think that's the same for IE9 or IE8. Nokia Symbian is okay, but not something I necessarily put up to a client's specification for phone I test. It's a really small percentage of people that we've got in there, and you just need a backup plan. Backup plans can be quite simple from something like this. So what you would get at the top, you see you've got your warning at the top there. As soon as you hit between a certain size, it's just a media query popping up saying it's too big, your phone's not right. And when you've got that on those functions, when you can detect the browser specifically, you can have that pop up. So if it detects it's a Nokia, if it detects it's something and it's going to look crap, at least you can warn the client. You can say, not built for this phone, try looking at our desktop site. So they're good ways of doing it. I think that's mostly things covered at the moment. Sorry, this is my first talk, so I've probably gone too quickly and gone through quite quickly. I'll give you guys the mobile theme that we've been talking about. It's a great start. It's nowhere near production ready or anything like that. It's just a good starting point. It does work out of the box. You can download them. I'm working on the mobile one and fully responsive WordPress themes that I'm physically working on at the moment, and they'll be ready sort of early next year. If you stay in touch, I'll make sure that you'll know about it when it comes out. So that's it really. So it's a very simple mobile platform. It's stripped down to however short this talk was. Can I take any questions?
On the iPad and iPad, how do you sort of replicate console functionality? Because in the end, I just sort of output to a div in the top left.
There's two ways I cheat. When I'm developing, I set the max width to 320. So in my browser, it's just a long thing, so you get an idea of how you're looking at it. That's a really key thing to do anyway. So you're not having to stretch your browser. And on Macs, they don't actually go that short. On PCs, they do. On Macs, they don't. The other way of it, so you can use obviously your inspect and your element there. Helpful-ish, I know. The other way is shadow. You can use Chrome debug on your mobile element, and it fires back what the issue is on that, not what's on your desktop. So that's about as far as I know on that question, if that helps.
The shadow thing.
Yeah, definitely have a look at shadow, definitely if you're doing mobile. Any other questions? Yes.
Jack, I've got a couple actually.
Yeah, sure.
What I want to talk about is you mentioned about this. I mean, I know it's not your plugin, but multi-device switcher plugin. A couple of questions about that. So that means that presumably you could say your normal desktop theme if you've got one, and then you could use your theme as the mobile.
Yeah, that's the whole point of that. Yeah, it sorts it over.
Okay, so the questions then about that is that how does it, say you've got a custom menu set up on your desktop one, right, that might have like top level and some drop downs and stuff like that. How does that translate into your thing?
At the moment, it will just display anything that's a menu, or no, it's a custom menu. So you can either set up a second custom menu in WordPress, give it a custom name, and if you go back to functions file, obviously just name it separately, and then so you'll have 3 menus in your WordPress main, but you're displaying 2, perhaps footer and header in your desktop, and then the 3rd mobile on that one. You can do it that way. You can display exactly what they want to do, or you can hard code it depending on what you want to do. So that's, and you can do a 3rd one for tablet as well. So you might have slightly different themes or slightly different way of doing it. But the important thing is that they're working off the same database and quite straightforward and off the same navigations.
That's good. Okay. I've got another question?
Sure.
The thing about, you mentioned about Retina, I've read a bit about that, you know,
Yeah.
file sizes and everything like that. Are you not concerned that, you know, you're forcing people to download like much larger files than actually sometimes they need, and if you sort of like got a rather naff like smartphone, you're kind of like wasting people's download.
Always concerned on bandwidth.
Also burning people's batteries sort of with the
Yeah. I'm always concerned. The only other option is it looks fuzzy, or the only other option is you're downloading 2 sets of assets, which is actually more than my way of doing it. I did some tests. We had a bit of spare time once, a couple of months back, and I sat down with the designers and we did speed tests, we did eye tests, we did what does it look like, how does it seem to you, is that sharp, is it not sharp, and the best outcome that we found was to make the image double at 72 dpi at 60%, so slightly less than what the original size was. So a file size that was 50k might be 62. So you're adding 12k, it's double the size, but it looks sharper. Now, it's up to you how you play that off. Have you got a lot of them? Does it matter? Can you use icons? Can you do anything else? So it's just a choice, but the option's there. The one that's come back the best is the option that I've been using, because it's tried and tested, seems to work, the client seems to like it, there doesn't seem to be any download problems, and it seems to be okay. All the others were just heavy, bloated, and did actually cause more bandwidth.
Right.
So this does seem to be the best way. Does everybody understand how that sorry, go on. Okay, does everybody understand what I mean by doubling your image size within its containing div? Does anybody unsure about that? Yeah, cool, okay.
I've got a question.
Sure.
I thought that you tested it on Windows mobile phone, and well, there was some quirks of BlackBerry as well, over BlackBerry. And my question is, did you test any beautifiers, filters for Internet Explorer like CSS Pi that will give you gradients and all that?
No, I didn't. So that is so. Did I test it through CSS Pi?
You included well, if you want to produce a gradient on the older
yes.
Explorer version, you have to refer to a special filter.
Yes. Sorry. Yes.
There is a kit for that.
Yes.
For example, CSS Pi.
That does work. That does work. Yes. Windows Phone 7 works like Windows 9's a current one, isn't it? IE9, yeah, it's IE9. They didn't quite do borders, they haven't quite got the gradient set up right. That's what Windows 7 Phone is doing at the moment on the web-ish. It's pretty spot on. So there's certain, yeah, there's a way around it as well, and there's some other. I found some good JavaScript plugins that do allow filtering on Windows 7 phones that do seem to work fine. But I have tried that and they do work. So anything that works on IE9 would work across on Windows Phone 7. I found. Yes.
Have you ever come across is iPhone like WordPress global?
No.
It's got everything. What's the kind of point in that? I mean, it's not just iPhone, is it? It's like it's got detects mobile, but like which mobile?
It detects the browser, and then it gives you a range of conditional functions.
Yeah.
So you can serve up conditional content depending on the browser. So it's useful for not for a mobile thing like this, but for a responsive site where you want to serve up different content dependent on.
Is that the plugin you're talking about? Like a core? The thing I'm talking about is actually it's a core, WordPress global variant. You can just say global is iPhone, and it returns. I don't know how it's called. It returns true.
Not seen that one.
But it returns true for like this.
Oh right.
So which is Samsung.
Yeah.
So I was just wondering, have an experience with it, or what's the point of it? What's the
I think wrapping up. Are there any more questions? No. Cool. Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Is there jQuery underpinning all this?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. This is. Oh, that's it. I'll go back to.
Is it the full-on jQuery, or is it a mobile version, or what?
No. I don't use the jQuery mobile. Is really heavy. It really bloated. if you can avoid using it, avoid using it. If you do have to use it, because a lot of it's done, then it's quite good. That's kind of why I built this, because jQuery is so bloated that this is just a clean way of doing it. JavaScript looks like this. Sorry, the first one I'll say, this little code here. So anything in between there is jQuery. This little bit up here is what knocks the browser, the URL bar up. So once a page is loaded, that will knock the bar up. One thing to bear in mind in that, it'll only do it if the page is longer than the screen itself. So if you're starting something and it's only 300 pixels high, it won't do it. And then anything underneath here is all jQuery. So, but it's all labelled. It's all labelled as you need it to.
That's great. Absolutely fantastic job.
Any other questions?
Yeah,
sure.
On testing it, do you ever use browser stats or something like that on those sort of online services?
I've heard browser stats.
Browser stack.
Stack? No, I haven't. No.
I use it for sort of desktop and a bit of responsive, but I've never really kind of gone in. But they do mobile emulators, I think.
Oh, I've heard of those. Yes, are they good?
On the virtual machine as well, so you can work with it.
Is it?
It's very, very good. You've got every single browser.
They do it for emails as well, don't they? And does it work for you?
It is paid for, yeah, but it's worth it.
It's a little
Does it just open a can of worms for you that you didn't know was? That's probably secretly why I haven't used it properly yet. No, I have heard of that. Sorry, any other questions? There's a hand at the back there.
I was going to ask about emulators as well.
You can ask. Yeah. I think what I found is, fortunate enough to work for a multinational, fortunately enough in the mobile department, we were lined up. I literally had my desk with every possible phone on it. From old Blackberries right up to the latest S3s and everything in between, and tablets. And they're all synced, and over the 9 months, all the bug testing, all the issues, everything that I found, which you believe some stupid things in there as well, all picked out and was put into here. So I've fortunately been able to use this template on real world devices, but always looking for feedback. I mean.